Have you ever decided that you were going to change your life, only to return to your old habits a few days later? Maybe you promised yourself that you would read every day, exercise regularly, wake up earlier, stop using your phone so much, or finally start working on an important goal. At first, you felt motivated and excited. But after a few days, that motivation became weaker, and the old patterns slowly returned. This experience is common because lasting change does not usually come from one powerful decision. It comes from the small actions we repeat every day. In Atomic Habits, James Clear explains a simple but powerful idea: small improvements can create remarkable results when they are repeated consistently. A tiny change may seem unimportant today, but its effect can become much larger over months and years. Reading a few pages, walking for 10 minutes, saving a small amount of money, or spending a short period learning a skill may not transform your life overnight. But when these actions become regular habits, they begin to shape your future. The important question is not only what you achieve today, but what your repeated actions are slowly turning you into. Another important lesson is the difference between goals and systems. A goal is the result you want, while a system is the process you follow repeatedly. Many people focus completely on their goals, believing that reaching a certain result will finally make them successful or happy. But lasting improvement comes from building a daily system that naturally moves you toward that result. Instead of simply saying, "I want to become fit," you can build a system of walking, exercising, and choosing healthier meals. Instead of saying, "I want to become a better reader," you can create a simple habit of reading a few pages every evening. This audiobook will take you through the central ideas behind building better habits and breaking harmful ones. You will discover why identity matters, how habits are formed, why your environment can influence your behavior, and how small changes can become powerful over time. You will also learn practical ways to make good habits easier and bad habits harder. The goal is not perfection. The goal is to create a process that is simple enough to repeat, even on ordinary days when motivation is low. Before we begin, if you enjoy audiobooks and summaries about personal growth, discipline, productivity, and self-improvement, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts in the comments. Your support helps us continue creating useful content. Now, take a deep breath, get comfortable, and let's begin this journey into the power of small habits and discover how a small change today can create a very different life tomorrow. Chapter 1: Change your identity before you change your habits. Real change begins with the way you see yourself. Many people try to change their lives by focusing only on results. They say, "I want to lose weight, I want to read more books, or I want to become successful." These goals can give you direction, but they do not always create lasting change. The deeper question is, who do I want to become? When your actions are connected to a new identity, your habits become more meaningful. You are no longer simply trying to complete a task. You are becoming a different kind of person, one small action at a time. There are 3 levels of change: outcomes, behaviors, and identity. Changing outcomes means focusing on what you want to achieve, such as losing 10 kilograms, getting better grades, or saving money. Changing behaviors means changing what you do, such as exercising, studying, or saving a little each month. But changing your identity goes deeper. It means changing what you believe about yourself. Instead of saying, "I want to read more," you begin to say, "I am a reader." Instead of saying, "I want to exercise," you begin to think, "I am someone who takes care of my body." This shift can make your habits feel more natural and lasting. The good news is that you do not have to completely believe in your new identity before you start. Your identity grows from your actions. Every time you perform a behavior, you give yourself a small piece of evidence about who you are. If you read a few pages today, you have evidence that you are becoming a reader. If you exercise for 10 minutes, you have evidence that you are someone who cares about health. If you keep a promise you made to yourself, you prove that you can be trusted. One action may seem small, but repeated actions slowly build a stronger belief about yourself. Imagine someone who wants to become a reader. They might begin by setting a goal to read 50 books in 1 year. That goal can be exciting, but it may also feel difficult. A better starting point could be to read just 5 pages every evening. The number of pages is not the most important part. What matters is the identity behind the action. Every evening, that person is sending a message to themselves, I am a person who reads. After weeks and months of repeating this behavior, reading becomes part of their normal life. They no longer need to constantly remind themselves that they should read. It simply becomes something they do. The same principle can be applied to almost every area of life. If you want to become more organized, start by keeping one small area clean every day and tell yourself, I am an organized person. If you want to become healthier, choose one simple healthy action and repeat it. If you want to become a better writer, write a few sentences every day. If you want to become financially responsible, start by tracking your spending. You do not need to prove your new identity through dramatic actions. You build it through small pieces of evidence that accumulate over time. The main lesson is simple: your habits shape your identity, and your identity influences your habits. Do not focus only on what you want to accomplish. Ask yourself who you want to become, then choose small actions that provide evidence of that identity every day. You do not need to change everything at once. Start with one tiny action that matches the person you want to be. Repeat it patiently, and allow those small actions to change the way you see yourself. Eventually, you may realize that you are no longer trying to become that person, you have already started becoming them. Chapter 2: How Habits Are Formed and Why They Are Hard to Break. Every habit begins with a simple pattern that often happens without our awareness. A habit can be understood through 4 basic steps: the cue, the craving, the response, and the reward. The cue is something that tells your brain that an opportunity or change is coming. The craving is the desire or feeling that follows. The response is the action you take, and the reward is the result that makes the action feel worthwhile. Once these 4 steps are repeated many times, the behavior can become automatic. What once required a conscious decision can eventually happen almost without thinking. Imagine that you receive a notification on your phone. The sound or vibration is the cue. You become curious and wonder who sent the message or what happened. That feeling is the craving. You pick up your phone and check the notification. That is the response. Then you discover a new message, interesting video, or piece of information, giving you a small feeling of satisfaction. That is the reward. Because your brain enjoyed the result, it remembers the pattern. The next time you hear the notification, you are more likely to repeat the same behavior. This explains why the brain repeats behaviors that provide rewards. The brain is constantly learning from experience. When an action gives you something you want, your brain begins to recognize that action as useful or enjoyable. Over time, the connection between the cue and the response becomes stronger. You may eventually reach for your phone without consciously deciding to do it. You may automatically open a certain website when you feel bored, or reach for a snack when you feel stressed. The behavior becomes familiar because your brain has learned the pattern through repetition. This process can be helpful when it creates good habits. Brushing your teeth before bed, putting your keys in the same place, exercising after work, or reading before sleeping can all become automatic. Once a positive behavior becomes part of your routine, you do not need to spend much energy deciding whether to do it. But the same process can create unhealthy habits. A person may start checking social media whenever they feel bored, eating when they feel stressed, or avoiding difficult work whenever they feel uncomfortable. The behavior provides an immediate reward, even when the long-term result is negative. This is why some bad habits can feel so attractive. They often provide something immediately: pleasure, entertainment, comfort, relief, or distraction. The problem is that the reward arrives quickly, while the negative consequences may appear much later. Spending an hour scrolling on a phone may feel enjoyable right now, while the lost time may only become obvious later. Avoiding an important task may create immediate relief, while the stress caused by delaying it appears afterward. The brain naturally notices the immediate reward, which can make the habit difficult to resist. Understanding this habit loop gives you a powerful way to change your behavior. Instead of simply telling yourself, "I need more discipline," start by asking what triggers the habit. What happens before you perform it? What are you craving at that moment? What reward are you receiving afterward? Once you understand the pattern, you can begin changing it. You can create better cues for positive habits and remove triggers for harmful ones. The goal is not to fight your brain, but to understand how it works and guide it toward better choices. When you understand the habit loop, you are no longer simply reacting to your habits, you can begin taking control of them. Before we continue this audiobook, don't forget to support us with a like and subscribe. Chapter 3: The 4 Laws of Building Good Habits. Building a good habit does not have to be complicated. One of the simplest ways to understand habit building is through 4 basic laws: make it obvious, make it attractive, make it easy, and make it satisfying. These 4 principles help you create an environment where the behavior you want becomes easier to repeat. Instead of depending completely on motivation or willpower, you can design your daily life so that good choices become more natural. The goal is not to force yourself to become perfect, but to make the right action easier to take. The first law is make it obvious. A new habit becomes easier when you have a clear reminder that tells you when and where to perform it. One useful method is to connect the new habit to something you already do. For example, after you make your morning coffee, you could spend 5 minutes reading. After brushing your teeth, you could prepare your clothes for exercise. This simple connection gives your brain a clear signal. You can also make good habits visible by placing your book on your desk, keeping your water bottle nearby, or preparing your workout clothes before going to bed. The second law is make it attractive. We naturally want to repeat actions that feel enjoyable. You can make a useful habit more attractive by connecting it with something you already enjoy. For example, you might listen to your favorite podcast while walking, or drink your favorite coffee while reading. Another powerful approach is spending time around people who already have the habits you want. When healthy and productive behaviors become normal in your environment, you are more likely to see them as something enjoyable and natural rather than something difficult. The third law is make it easy. Many people fail because they make their new habits too difficult from the beginning. They decide to exercise for 1 hour every day, read 50 pages every night, or study for 3 hours without interruption. These goals may sound impressive, but they can quickly become overwhelming. A better approach is to start with the smallest possible version of the habit. Read 1 page. Do one push-up. Write one sentence. Study for 5 minutes. The first goal is not to achieve a huge result. It is simply to make starting easy enough that you can repeat the behavior. The fourth law is make it satisfying. When a habit gives you a positive feeling after you complete it, your brain becomes more interested in repeating it. You can create this feeling by checking a box on a calendar, recording your progress, or simply taking a moment to recognize that you kept your promise to yourself. Small rewards can make consistency more enjoyable. Over time, the satisfaction may come not only from the reward itself, but from seeing yourself become more disciplined, confident, and capable. The most powerful part of these 4 laws is that they work together. Make the habit obvious so you remember it. Make it attractive so you want to do it. Make it easy so you do not feel strong resistance. Then make it satisfying so your brain wants to repeat it. Your environment plays an important role in all of this. If healthy food is easy to see and unhealthy food is difficult to reach, your choices become easier. If your phone is far away while you work and your book is beside you, your environment is quietly guiding your behavior. You do not always need stronger willpower. Sometimes you simply need a better environment. Start small, make the process simple, and let repetition do the rest. Over time, a tiny habit can become a natural part of your life. Chapter 4: How to Break Bad Habits. Breaking a bad habit can feel difficult because we often try to fight it at the wrong moment. We wait until the temptation appears, and then we expect ourselves to have enough willpower to say no. But a better approach is to change the environment and the habit itself before the temptation becomes strong. The same 4 laws that help us build good habits can be reversed to weaken bad ones: make it invisible, make it unattractive, make it difficult, and make it unsatisfying. The goal is not to fight yourself all day, but to make unwanted behaviors less easy to repeat. The first step is to make the bad habit invisible. Most habits begin with a trigger, and removing the trigger can make a huge difference. If you constantly check your phone while working, keep it in another room or put it somewhere you cannot easily see it. Turn off unnecessary notifications and remove distracting apps from your main screen. If you eat snacks whenever you see them, do not leave them on your desk or kitchen counter. When the cue is no longer in front of you, your brain has fewer reasons to start the habit. The second step is to make the bad habit unattractive. Many harmful behaviors seem attractive because we focus on the immediate pleasure and forget the later cost. Scrolling through social media may feel relaxing, but it can leave you with less time and less energy for the things that truly matter. Delaying an important task may give you temporary relief, but the unfinished work often creates more stress later. Try to look beyond the immediate reward and remind yourself of the full result. When you clearly see what the habit costs you, it becomes easier to choose something better. The third step is to make the bad habit difficult. Even a small amount of extra effort can create a moment in which you can make a different choice. If you want to spend less time on your phone, log out of distracting apps or place the phone far away while working. If you want to stop visiting certain websites, use a blocker during your focused hours. If you tend to watch videos late at night, keep your devices away from your bed. You are not trying to make life difficult. You are simply creating enough distance between the impulse and the action to give yourself time to think. The fourth step is to make the bad habit unsatisfying. A behavior becomes weaker when it no longer feels rewarding. One way to do this is to create accountability. Tell someone you trust about the habit you are trying to change, or keep a simple record of your behavior. You can also remind yourself immediately of the cost of breaking your commitment. The purpose is not to punish yourself or create guilt. It is to help your brain understand that the behavior does not support the person you want to become. Perhaps the most important lesson is that removing temptation is often easier than constantly resisting it. Imagine trying to work while your phone is beside you, notifications are appearing, and social media is only one click away. You may be able to resist for a while, but resisting again and again requires mental energy. Instead, change the environment before you begin. Put the phone away, close unnecessary tabs, and create a space that supports your goal. You do not need to become stronger than every temptation. You can simply give temptation fewer opportunities to appear. When you remove the triggers, make bad habits less attractive, add a little difficulty, and reduce their rewards, breaking them becomes much easier, and your attention becomes available for the life you actually want to build. Chapter 5. Keep going until your habits become part of your life. Building a habit is only the beginning. The real change happens when you continue practicing it long enough for it to become a natural part of your life. Many people make the mistake of looking for perfection. They believe that if they miss one workout, skip one reading session, or have one unproductive day, they have failed. But real progress does not require perfection. It requires consistency. A person who takes small steps most days will usually go much farther than someone who does everything perfectly for a short time and then gives up. This is where the simple rule "never miss twice" becomes powerful. Missing one day is not the end of your habit. Life can be unpredictable. You may become tired, busy, sick, or distracted. What matters is what you do next. If you miss your workout today, try to return tomorrow. If you forget to read tonight, open your book the next evening. The danger is not one missed day, the danger is allowing one missed day to become a new pattern. One mistake is an event. Repeating the mistake can become a habit. Setbacks are also a normal part of the process. Instead of becoming angry with yourself, ask a simple question: what happened? Maybe the habit was too difficult. Maybe the timing was wrong. Maybe your environment created too many distractions. Perhaps you expected too much from yourself. Every setback can provide useful information. You can then adjust the habit instead of abandoning it. If 30 minutes of exercise is difficult every day, start with 10 minutes. If reading 20 pages feels like too much, read 2 pages. The goal is to keep the connection alive. Tracking your habits can also help you stay aware of your progress. You can use a simple calendar, notebook, or habit tracking app. Each time you complete your habit, mark it down. Seeing a series of successful days can create a quiet sense of satisfaction and encourage you to continue. But tracking is not about creating pressure. It is simply a way to make invisible progress visible. When you can see your effort, you are more likely to recognize that your actions are adding up, even when the final result is still far away. Sometimes the hardest part of building a habit is that progress can be difficult to notice. You may read every day but still feel that you know very little. You may exercise regularly but not see a dramatic change immediately. You may save money every month without feeling wealthy yet. This can make you believe that nothing is happening. But meaningful change often happens quietly before it becomes visible. Every repetition is strengthening a skill, a behavior, or an identity. The results may arrive slowly, but that does not mean the effort is being wasted. Small improvements are accumulating beneath the surface. Finally, remember that the best habits are not necessarily the habits that look impressive. They are the habits that fit your personality, your goals, and your real life. Choose behaviors that you can realistically repeat. Build a routine that works with your schedule rather than fighting against it. Over time, small habits can connect together and become a system that guides your everyday life. You no longer need to constantly think about becoming better because your routine is already helping you move forward. The goal is not to create a perfect life overnight. It is to create a simple system that you can return to again and again. When small actions become consistent, and consistency becomes part of your identity, habits stop feeling like something you have to force, and start becoming simply part of who you are. Conclusion: a small change today, a different life tomorrow. As we reach the end of this journey, one simple idea remains: small changes can create a very different life when they are repeated consistently. We have learned that lasting improvement does not usually come from one huge decision or a sudden burst of motivation. It comes from the small choices we make every day. A few pages of reading, a short walk, a healthy meal, a focused period of work, or a few minutes spent learning may seem insignificant today. But when these actions are repeated, they begin to shape our future. We also learned that changing our habits begins with changing the way we see ourselves. Instead of only asking, "What do I want to achieve?" we can ask, "Who do I want to become?" Our daily actions provide evidence of our identity. When we read regularly, we become readers. When we exercise consistently, we become people who care about our health. When we keep small promises to ourselves, we become more disciplined and confident. Every action is a small vote for the person we are becoming. We discovered that habits follow a simple pattern: a cue, a craving, a response, and a reward. Once we understand this pattern, we can begin to design our habits instead of simply reacting to them. Good habits can be made obvious, attractive, easy, and satisfying. Bad habits can be made invisible, unattractive, difficult, and unsatisfying. This means that we do not always need more willpower. Sometimes, we simply need to create an environment that makes good choices easier and unwanted behaviors less convenient. Most importantly, we learned that we do not need to change our entire life in one day. Trying to change everything at once can quickly become overwhelming. Instead, choose one small habit and make it easy enough to repeat. Read one page. Walk for 5 minutes. Write one sentence. Put your phone away for a short period. Drink more water. The action may look small, but its purpose is to create consistency. Once the habit becomes comfortable, you can slowly build on it. There will be difficult days. You may miss a habit, lose motivation, or return to an old behavior. That does not mean you have failed. Remember the simple rule: never miss twice. One bad day does not define you. What matters is your ability to return and continue. Progress is rarely a straight line. What matters is the direction you are moving in and your willingness to keep going. Give yourself time, be patient, and allow small improvements to accumulate. So, as you close this audiobook, do not search for a massive transformation. Search for one small improvement you can repeat every day. You do not need to become a completely different person tomorrow. You only need to take one small step toward the person you want to become. With enough time, those small steps can become habits, those habits can become part of your identity, and that identity can shape your life. Change may begin with something very small, but if you repeat it long enough, the results can become extraordinary. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this audiobook summary, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments.